Hello friends, it's the Stitches again, and today's video is all about zines. I love zines. Zines are wonderful. Zines changed my life. Zines, I can't talk about how amazing zines are enough, and I really want to include them in this channel more. I want to talk about, you know, adding some to my monthly favorites, just making more videos about zines and zine making and my favorite zines and my favorite zine stirs, and maybe like zine readings. I don't know. I want more of them on my channel because I make zines and I read zines and I feel like zines need more love. But of course I can't really add those types of videos without having the initial sit down of what a zine is, because I feel like every time I talk to a new person about zines, the first question I always get is, cool, what is that? These are zines. Zines are great, zines are wonderful. I have a lot of zines. I have a very large zine collection, so I'm not gonna show you all of my zines because that would be a very long video, but I grabbed a handful of what I thought would be a good representation of what zines are. So I'm just gonna show you a few examples, and these, I didn't grab these ones for any particular reason other than they were good examples. So yeah. First off, this isn't a zine, this is an actual book, but it was created in the same way that this author makes her zines. She does traditional cut and paste to make this, so she did every single page by hand. And this is like a good overview of zines. If I don't explain it well enough here, this will. This is by Wrekk, Stolen Sharpie Revolution. It's not very expensive. I think I paid $8 for this, shipping included, so I'll include a link to where you can buy this down below. Because Wrekk is a cool person and she made a great resource, and everybody who knows zines knows that book, so if you're interested in getting into zine culture, it is definitely like a thing that you'll probably end up buying eventually. So yeah. So zines come in all different sizes. There are even ones that are bigger than this, there are ones that are smaller than this, but it just kind of depends on the budget that the zine is created in and also the length and the topic. So some of them are really long and thick and could almost be made into a short book, and some of them are, you know, 3 pages worth of content. So it just kind of depends. There isn't really a set criteria on what makes a zine other than it's not really a magazine, it's not really a book. They're usually handmade, they're usually made and like manufactured by the person that wrote it, usually, but that's not always the case. Some zines are professionally published, but most zines aren't. So it just kind of depends, but they will be small production. Like it is unusual to have a zine that has more than 1,000 copies in a single run. Some zines, like this particular zine, there are more than 1,000 copies of this in existence, but that's because it's made by famous people and highly sought after, and I think this is the second run of this, maybe the third. It is the second edition, so like some zines are really professional and some zines aren't, and it just kind of depends on who's making it and how popular they are. But as a general rule, zines have short distribution and they're usually homemade, handmade. They're usually very, very DIY. Zines can be about really any topic. This one is about being a pen pal. This one is a collection of Kurt Vonnegut quotes and sketches of the cat interpretation of it. I'll put down the title and authors of all of these zines in the description if you're wondering. This zine is about self-care, and it's sort of an activity book. It gives you little areas to write down your own things, and then it has comics in it. And then I have a bunch of zines about the concept of radical softness, which is a very interesting topic and could fill its own video, so I won't get too much into it. But this is an interesting zine because not only is it an art zine, but it is also doubles as an art print. This is something that a lot of artists who make zines like to do. They'll have the zine on one side and then a print on the other. And then it just folds back up into a zine. And that is actually a pretty common thing. It's super cool. This zine is a collection of different works by different people about the concept of one unifying idea, and it's just sort of created as a collective effort. And a lot of zines are collaborative effort. These zines are all created by one person, whereas these were all created by multiple people. So there's a lot of different ways of having collaborations. You can have, like, this one is curated by everybody who went into it, I'm pretty sure. This is an art zine by two different artists, and they just split up the pages. So one artist will be on one side, and then the other will be on the other. And there it's just artworks on the same idea. This one is super interesting. One side, this is a split zine, whereas the first half of it is one zine and written one way. And then the other one, you flip it, and then the rest of it is on the other half. Super cool. And then this one it was curated by one person. One person had the idea to make the zine, and then they created a post on a zine community website, which there are a ton of these out there, because the zine community is surprisingly large for how little I hear about them. And they said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is the topic of my zine. This is what I want to make. Please submit essays and artworks. And so it's a collaborative effort, but it's curated by one person. And they'll usually have their own artwork and an essay inside of it, and then that will be like the core idea of the zine, and then the rest of the art and writings will be based off of that idea. Super nifty. And then this is also not only DIY made, but it was bound by hand using thread. Super cool. The rest of these are stapled, but long arm staples are expensive, so not many people have access to that. So if the trademark of a super low budget DIY handmade zine is a handmade binding, and I actually sew the edges of my zines. I have mine split and then I sew down the middle where the crease is, and that's how I bind my zines, because I cannot afford a long arm stapler. And then while most zines are created by like regular people, there are of course celebrities who have written zines. I don't know if these are like celebrities, but like well-known people. This is a reproduction, it's a reprint of a zine written by Kathleen Hanna, the lead singer of Bikini Kill. This is actually about addiction, and it has an interview with her and another member of a punk rock band and some information from different textbooks about addiction and recovery, and it's actually a super cool zine. It's really thick and it has a lot of really informative stuff in it. So like some zines can be really thorough and in-depth on a subject, and some zines are like, these are some pretty pictures of this topic, enjoy. And I just think that's cool. I don't know. And then this zine I keep in the plastic because this is the most expensive zine I've ever bought, which is not saying much because it was only like $18. But it has a collection of essays from all of these people, and some names on this include Alison Wolfe, Kelly Osbourne, Lindsay Way, and of course it was put together by Jessica Adams, who is another like punk rock riot girl band. But yeah, so this is just like a bunch of musicians and musicians and musician adjacent people writing about their experience being that. And yeah, so zines can be really anything, and there's no one true definition of what a zine is, but in general it's a piece of independently made and independently published writing and or art that is roughly in this shape and has pages and can be enjoyed by people, and I just think they're cool, and I have amassed a large quantity of them by a lot of different people, and I'd like to talk about them more because I think they're the most amazing thing ever. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on that, but I feel like zines need more love, so here it is. Here is my introduction to zines. There'll be more videos on zines in the future, but I just felt like I needed to have this sit down and be like, this is a zine. Enjoy. So I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope everybody now has kind of a vague idea of what a zine is, and maybe even goes out and buys a zine, or maybe one of my zines. There's a link down below where you can see my Etsy, which has zines in it. Shameless self-promotion. I hope everybody has a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye.